Hi everyone, I'm excited to be back, and in this video we'll be making the most used piece of hardware in any machine or any equipment, which is a screw. So there's so many different types of screws, but the one that we're gonna make today is a internal hex or a socket head cap screw, which looks something like that. So to make that, we need to do some basic calculations, which is done on this worksheet, and I got all this information from different websites. I've also pasted a link of Wikipedia where you can find this information. So let's get started. We make a part. So the screw that we are making today is gonna be an M6 1mm thread socket head cap screw. So what this means is it's a 6mm diameter screw. It's going to be 20 millimeters long. 1 millimeter is going to be the pitch of the screw, which just means the distance between the threads, and it's going to be socket head. So to make that, we make our 6 millimeter diameter sketch and then extrude it for the length of our screw, which is going to be 20 millimeters. Then hit OK. So to make threads, we obviously need to make some sort of helix, which will eventually turn into threads. To make that helix, we select this face, make a sketch, and then hit convert entities, which will turn this face into a sketch. So once you have that, we insert a curve, select helix, and then you can see that we have our helix, but not the exact shape we want. So first, our pitch is gonna be 1. And here we'll first select height and pitch, because that's what we know. So our height is gonna be 20 millimeters, but let's give it slightly more, so 21 millimeters. Pitch is gonna be 1, start angle is gonna be 90 degrees, and then it can be either clockwise or counterclockwise. But here we can see that the helix is going on the other side, and we want it on our screw. So we just select reverse direction, and then yep, that looks good. So we hit OK. So now what we do is we make our sketch profile. So on the right plane, I make a new sketch, and I start with some construction geometries. So what we do is we make sure that we select the center and make some construction geometry. Length of this edge is going to be half of our pitch, which is going to be 0.5 millimeters. And then we can start making our half sketch profile, which will eventually be mirrored along with the vertical construction axis. So we make our rough construction, rough tooth profile, thread profile. So from our calculations, I found out that this length is 1/8 of pitch, but just because we are making half of the profile, it's going to be 1/16. The angle of our threads is going to be 30, and then this is going to be 5/8 of our thread height, which is 0.866025, and this is coming from the calculation 0.625, which is 5/8. Now that we see that everything turned black, which means we have a fully defined sketch, so let's select the sketch and then mirror this along the vertical construction line. And then it's gonna give us a complete closed sketch, and then we exit. So now what we want to do is we want to use this sketch and eventually make threads on our boss extrude. So for that, we select swept cut feature, and then it gives us some options. Usually it automatically selects the last sketch we made as our profile, and that's what we want to do. And in the path, what we do is we select the helix. So you can see here that it automatically cuts the thread profile on the boss extrude that we made. So this looks good. We hit OK, and this gives us a nice looking threaded screw, but it's still not complete yet because this doesn't have a head. So before we actually make our head, let's make like a little lead-in chamfer for the screw, so it's easy to screw in or screw it out. So what we do is we select right plane again and make a new sketch. Here we're gonna make a rectangle starting at this point, and we just make sure that this point and the minor diameter is horizontal, and this angle is just 45, and it looks good. So now what we do is we select feature and revolve cut, and we want to revolve it along this axis. So you can see here that our screw now has a nice lead-in chamfer, which looks really good. We hide the sketch now. So once we are done with that, we start making shape of our screw head. So usually for an M6 screw, the screw head diameter is 10 millimeters. So let's make a 10 millimeter diameter, and then we boss extrude, and the height of the screw head is 6 millimeters for an M6 screw. So hit OK. What we want to do now is we want to design the hex cutout so we can have our driver go in and screw it. So we make a new sketch, we select polygon, sketch tool, and then our hex will have 6 sides, of course. And let's give this dimension to be 5 millimeters, which is the hex drive dimension. And just to complete this sketch, we just select one of the side edges and make sure that it's vertical. Now you can see that it has completed. So usually I found that the depth of this cut for hex drive is at least 60% of the head height. In our case, we'll make it 62.5%, which is 0.375. Oh, sorry, my bad. 3.75 millimeters. Yep, that looks good. Hit OK. And then what we do is we select that face again and just give it a little lead-in chamfer for our driver. So we make a circle which is coincident with the polygon, and then features, we make an extrude cut, and now what we do is we just give it a draft of 45 degrees. Hit OK. So here you can see that we have a nice lead-in for our LN driver to go in. Looks complete, but let's just give it a little more finishing. So what we do is we select chamfer tool, we select this edge and that edge and give it a 0.5 millimeter chamfer. Wow, this looks really good. So I think this is complete now. This is actually how these screws are designed, and once it's designed, they obviously design tools to manufacture it, but this is the final product, and I actually have used so many of these screws, and this is how it actually looks like. So I'm excited that I was able to share this with you all, and I'll be back soon with more and more CAD, and probably will go a little more into details on some of different tools. In this we learned swept cut, we learned revolved cut, we learned how to use helix tool and some other stuff. So I'll be back with more, and if there's anything that you'd like me to experiment with or design or share my CAD videos with you guys, just put it down in the comment and I'll make sure that I take care of that. Alright, thank you, bye bye.